The Trojan War was over. Troy had fallen, and Odysseus, king of Ithaca, wanted only one thing: to go home. But the gods were not finished with him. Driven off course, his ships came to a strange, wild island where no farmer had ever sown a field and no shepherd watched the hills. Hungry and curious, Odysseus chose a dozen of his best men and went ashore to see who lived there. They found an enormous cave near the shore, ringed with pens of lambs and goats and racks heavy with drying cheese. Whoever lived here was no ordinary man. The crew begged Odysseus to grab the cheeses and the animals and run back to the ships while they still could. But Odysseus refused. He wanted to meet the owner of the cave, hoping for the gift a host was supposed to give a guest. It was a fatal mistake. By evening, the ground began to shake. The owner had come home. He was a Cyclops, a giant as tall as a mountain crag, with a single great eye in the middle of his forehead. His name was Polyphemus, and he was a son of Poseidon, god of the sea. He drove his flocks inside and then sealed the entrance with a boulder so vast that 20 wagons could not have moved it. The men were trapped. When the giant lit his fire and saw them, Odysseus spoke carefully. He reminded the Cyclops of the ancient law of hospitality, protected by Zeus himself, that a host must welcome a guest, not harm him. Polyphemus only laughed. The Cyclopes, he said, feared no gods, not even Zeus. Then he reached out, seized 2 of the men, and devoured them where they stood. The rest could only watch in horror, sealed in by a stone they could never move. Odysseus burned to draw his sword and kill the giant in his sleep. But he stopped himself. If the Cyclops died, who would move the boulder? They would simply die in the dark, trapped forever. He needed a cleverer plan. So the next evening, Odysseus offered the giant a gift of his own, a skin of dark, powerful wine, far stronger than anything the Cyclops had ever tasted. Polyphemus drank and loved it, and demanded more. Pleased, the giant asked the stranger his name, promising him a gift in return. And Odysseus answered, "My name is Nobody. Nobody, that is what everyone calls me." The giant grinned and gave his promise. "Then Nobody, I will eat you last of all." And with that, drunk on the wine, Polyphemus collapsed into sleep. Now, Odysseus moved. He and his men took a great stake of olive wood they had sharpened to a point and hardened in the fire. With all their strength, they drove the burning point deep into the giant's single eye and twisted it like a drill. Polyphemus woke with a scream that shook the mountain. Blinded, he bellowed into the night, and the other Cyclopes came running to his cave, calling through the door, "Polyphemus, who is hurting you? Who is trying to kill you?" And he roared back the truth, "Nobody! Nobody is killing me." So his neighbors grumbled that he must be sick or mad, and wandered away. The lie had worked perfectly. Howling in pain, the blind giant rolled back the boulder. But he sat himself down in the entrance, arms spread wide, groping to catch any man who tried to slip past. It seemed there was no way out. But Odysseus had one last trick. He lashed his men beneath the bellies of the giant's largest rams, hidden in the thick wool. When dawn came and the flock pushed out to graze, the blind Cyclops ran his hands over each animal's back and felt nothing of the men clinging underneath. One by one they escaped the cave, freed the rams, and rowed hard for the ship. They were alive. They had beaten a giant with nothing but wine, a sharpened stake, and a single clever word. And here, Odysseus made his great mistake. Safe on the water, his pride swelled. He could not resist. He turned back toward the shore and shouted his real name, If anyone asks who blinded you, tell them it was Odysseus, son of Laertes, king of Ithaca." The giant gave a terrible cry. He tore a hilltop loose and hurled it at the sound, nearly crushing the ship. And then Polyphemus lifted his hands to the sea and prayed to his father, Poseidon. Let Odysseus never reach his home. Or if he must, let him come late, alone, broken in a stranger's ship, to find only suffering waiting for him. And Poseidon heard his son. That single proud shout would cost Odysseus 10 more years lost at sea, and every companion who sailed with him. He had outsmarted a giant with his mind and nearly undone it all with his pride. But the long way home was only beginning, and that is a tale for another day. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to follow the journey from the beginning. The thread of myth is long, and we are still following it.